Back to the conversation here in the studio with us. We're talking with Governor George Pataki. He's now with No American Debt. It's an organization that is self-described as seeking to advance the national dialogue about the America debt crisis. We'll get you involved in the conversation here in just a moment. So what do you want to do about this, sir?
I want to pass a law in Washington, or elect officials who will pass a law in Washington that will reduce the size of the federal government, reduce spending by the federal government, reform entitlements, create an economic climate where the private sector is hiring again, and where people can believe in tomorrow, believe in the future of America, instead of having doubts, which too many Americans have today.
Are you referring to the cap and balance thing, that piece of legislation?
Cap and balance is one piece of legislation. That's longer term.
Constitutional amendment on.
I'm for it, but that's longer term, but I think we need to take action now.
Does that law exist yet, or is it just one that you're contemplating?
Well, let me tell you what I think we could do, and it's got to be in the multiple trillions. It can't be some of the fiddling around the edges they're talking about. The bipartisan commission, the President's Commission, put out a $4 trillion cut. He threw it in the garbage because he didn't agree, because it lowers tax rates. But it was $4 trillion in savings. Now, I don't agree entirely with that proposal, but the vast majority of it, I think it could implement. And it already has, bipartisan and premature. It's already President Obama's own commission that recommended. But I could go far beyond that, and I would go far beyond that. Just let me you want me to tick off some examples of what I do? I've reduced the size of the federal workforce by 15%. I did that when I was governor. I reduced the size of the New York State workforce by 15%, and at the end, we had a far more effective and efficient government. Bureaucrats weren't tripping over each other, and it worked very well. The federal government could do the same thing. I would roll back entitlements to 2006. When you look at the spending binge that the Pelosi-Reid Obama team engaged in over the last the 2 years they ran everything, they increased entitlements by over 20%, discretionary spending by over 25%. No one was saying in 2006 the federal government is too small. And yet they have massively increased it since that time. I'd repeal Obamacare. It's one of the worst laws from the standpoint of Americans' health care. It also is going to cost us hundreds of billions of dollars. I would change the way federal retirees get their pensions, have defined contributions instead of defined benefits. I would reduce, I'm a very proactive, we need to defend America person, but we have 153 overseas military bases. We have 18 in West Germany. And I say West Germany because they aren't in East Germany. They're from a relic of the Cold War. We could reduce some of those. There are so many things we can do. And, Jan, I'm talking, we can do this, we can do that. It's been done before. When I was governor, I took office with a $5 billion deficit, and I left with a $3+ billion surplus. I reduced the size of the state government by over 15%. Yeah. We reformed entitlements. We cut discretionary spending, and it works. All
of that is really great on the state level. The way the country was written and the Constitution was written, the federal government was supposed to be small. Right. Very limited powers, almost limited only to the enumerated powers, and they could not print money. They couldn't. They knew what fake money did to their culture, and the continental dollar ruined the country for a generation. And they decided to have an honest currency, and they defined what a dollar was, and they said it has to be redeemable and convertible, and they defined gold and silver as what a dollar was. They even defined how much gold and silver had to be in order to call itself a dollar, and all of a sudden everything stabilized. They didn't give the government the power to print money, and for a long time that kept everything under wraps. But in 1971 and through a bunch of other things, we started to have a totally fiat currency. And all of a sudden, all kinds of weird stuff started to happen, and we've been devaluing not only our currency, but our economy and our ethics and everything that is attached. And our future, because we no longer have an honest currency. Everything you said about the state government, you having discipline, because no state government can print money. Here in Iowa, on the basis of the Constitution, they have to balance the budget every single year. Right. It's the law.
Right.
As long as you have a printing press in Washington, you can pass all the balanced budgets you want, and because they'll always have an excuse and incentive to fire up the printing presses.
Well, I do think if we had as you said, most states require the adoption of a balanced budget, and that's been a very important reform. And I think we should have that in Washington. They should be required to have a balanced budget. But I don't think, and I think that is a part of the solution. But I don't think we can wait until we have a constitutional amendment. I'm all for an honest currency, and I think the massive increase in the money supply that the Fed has been undertaking is wrong. And you do need to have discipline and some ability to prevent that from happening.
Who will provide it?
It's up to our leadership to do that. That's the problem. But let me just, ultimately it's up to the people. Because the whole concept of our country is different from others. We are truly a government of the people, and that's why we have to speak up. That's why No American Debt is out there, because we do it through our elected representatives. But if we sit back and don't pay attention and don't hold them accountable, then this is going to happen. We need to have a president who understands this. We need to have a Senate and the House that understand this, and I believe we can. This
is an argument that began day one in our country.
Right.
I mean, day one. We're not inventing this argument. The very same words that you and I are using right now, in 1780s, our forebears were using exactly the language we're talking about now, and over the same issues. There were, and Jefferson wrote about it. He said there are some people who consider the debt of the nation a blessing. And
Alexander Hamilton.
Yeah, it's a blessing. And Jefferson, no, it is not.
Right.
It is a curse and bondage to the next generation. We cannot do that. So you had the banking industry represented by Hamilton, wanted fractional reserve banking, and he wanted to duplicate the Bank of England over here and to give those varmints the same foothold in our economy that the Bank of England had in England. And Jefferson, oh no, we can't do that. We have to have a real currency. We have to have gold and silver. We have to have that kind of discipline. We even wrote it into the Constitution. The state can require nothing but gold and silver for the payment of debts. That's still in the Constitution. Totally ignored by the left and right. Now, you said just a few moments ago, I'm sorry to be, this is talk show disease I have, really, really bad, Governor.
Not at all. No problem, Jeff.
But the Democrats are Keynesians. They say debt is a blessing. The Republicans are monetists, like Friedmanites. We have to only control this with controlling the money supply.
Well,
you want somebody in better control of the money supply. The third option was, no, we don't put politicians in charge of any of that. We don't consider debt a blessing. We allow the currency to discipline us. We don't even put this into the hands of the people. Give them an honest currency. This stuff all sorts itself out.
Well, I'm all for an honest currency, and as I said, I think what the Fed is doing is wrong. But I don't think the only the monetarists, the Milton Friedman side, the Keynesians who have failed miserably with their policies and the fake stimulus that didn't work. I am very much of a supply sider when it comes to economics.
That's the third category,
and I think it's the right category.
Okay,
and that is that you grow the economy by empowering people with their own money. You don't let the federal government take it from them and then spend it or any. No. It shouldn't be debt money. It should be real money, and it has been done. In this country is 235 plus years old, and it's just been within the last couple of years. I mean, we've had crises like World War II where we had to borrow and go into debt in the Civil War, but we've never had a time like this where to reward political cronies, we are stealing from the future to live beyond our means today.
Because
that isn't the money supply, that's the politicians spending.
Absolutely. And it's debt money.
And getting constitutional a little bit here because I love it. And when you think of this country, we are unique, and we are unique because we're the greatest country the world has ever known, and we still attract people from every corner of the globe because of freedom and opportunity. But our system of government is unique because you mentioned Great Britain and their banking system. In almost every country, to the extent there is a power in the public, in the people, it was given by the state to the people over time. You know, you had a king, and then over time he had to give up some power, and then Parliament had a little more power. This is the only country where the government was created by the people. The people started first and said, we the people enable in order to create a more perfect union. And we have given certain limited powers to the government. And the government, because of that, is supposed to be the servant of the people and not the master. Yeah. In Washington today, they think they're the masters. Well, they think they're the bosses. It's not the American way. It's not our Constitution. The people are the bosses.
Everything you're saying exactly right, except the very first generation. Again, Franklin said you have a republic if you can keep it.
That's right. Exactly right.
But if the people learn that they can get money by voting money from one pocket into their own, it's over. And they've learned that lesson.
That was de Tocqueville. De Tocqueville wrote this brilliant analysis of America at the beginning of the 19th century, the early 1800s, saying, it is a wonderful society. I just fear what happens when a majority of the people can learn that they can get more from taking from the others.
That majority has learned that.
But
and we created a welfare state.
Jan, don't be pessimistic.
I'm not pessimistic. I'm trying to...
Des Moines is a wonderful city. Iowa's a great state. We can change Washington.
You can't change human nature. Here's my pitch, and I want you to unlock this for me. Because just a couple of years ago, Howard Dean came to Iowa running for office, and he appeared at a picnic, and he says, we have health care now in my state because we're an incrementalist, and you just give people benefits. Once you get them in the system, you give them benefits, they will never, ever vote them away. Because all that politician has to do is say, they're going to take away your benefits. And, well, that's socialism. Yeah, but those are your benefits. And no, you can't run against socialism after it's there, because people who are recipients of other people's money will never vote to vote their own out of their own best interest. And Howard Dean, he understands human nature. If we have 43% of the American public don't even pay taxes. They're actually redistribute. Why would those people respond to your message at all?
Well, I think I understand a little bit about human nature, too. You know, I got elected as a Republican conservative in New York 3 times, and you can't do that with narrow partisan rhetoric. You have to have a little sense of people.
What I just said, is that narrow partisan rhetoric?
It's not narrow partisan, but I don't think it's reflective of the American people. You have to appeal, as Reagan would have said, to the better angels of our nature. And I honestly think they are still there. And if you have one side saying, I'm going to buy you something and give it to you for free, and by the way, I'm going to be borrowing from your children to do it, and the other side saying...
They won't ever say that second part.
Well, we'll remind the people of that. And then if you have the other side saying, you know, this great country, the opportunities you have is because people before you sacrificed to build a better future, and are you going to tell your children, and are you going to tell this country that a generation from now they're going to live poorer lives, have less opportunity, because we live beyond our means? If a majority of the Americans don't believe that, then my total understanding of human nature is wrong. I believe in the American people, not the political class. But I believe if presented with the right opportunities, the right options, the right choices, including understanding that we can't continue to live beyond our means, then the American people will do the right thing. We always have. That's why this is such a great country. When we've been challenged in the past, we've always come together and put aside self-interest for the public interest. And I still believe in that. I still believe in the American people.
I still remember the bumper sticker I saw on the back of a Winnebago, which are those campers that are built right here in Iowa.
That's
very fine camper and recreational vehicle. On the back of that bumper sticker said, "I'm spending my grandchildren's inheritance."
Yeah.
That's what we're doing. And
you know, I saw that bumper sticker too.
I thought it was really funny and snotty, and then I realized, no, that's a metaphor for our country. We're actually doing that. The current generation is enjoying itself on vacation and sending the bill to the next generation.
The difference, Jan, though it's supposed to be a humorous bumper sticker.
I know, but it only is humor because it's true.
Even if you take it seriously, is they're spending their own money. They're not borrowing it from China or Goldman Sachs and saddling the next generation with a bill.
That's exactly right. That's a good point.
I mean, I have a 8-month-old grandchild. Wonderful young guy. I'm so proud of my son and my daughter-in-law. He owes the federal government $49,000.
I hope the little piker pays up.
I hope he can get a good job and pay much lower taxes, but with a higher income, so we can balance the budget. I hope it doesn't take that long.
Governor, it's up to you. It's your schedule. If you want to spend some more time, you're welcome to. If you have to move on,
well, if you want to throw me out, I understand. I've been thrown out of worse places than this, Jan. We'll keep going.
You're 6'6". I'm not going to try that. What we're going to do is take a short time out. Governor George Pataki is here in the studio, and I think he's talking a lot of really good old-fashioned common sense. And his point is, once you guys know the truth, you're going to behave in a principled fashion. Do you think that's true? And if you have any specific questions for him, join us right now, 284-1040 or 800-469-4295 right after our Farm Markets.